connect with that great church and have the opportunity of being able to experience together what God is doing through that congregation. So hello, Light the Bay. And then I'm glad to be able to be with Pastor Jason and Peggy and be part of their lives. They are my kids spiritually. Sherry and I are mom and dad spiritually speaking to Jason and Peggy, and love them a lot and appreciate them, and their children mean a lot to us. So it's always good, whether we're there in person or whether we're doing Facebook Live with you. It's a great opportunity for us to be able to be together. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we've been talking the last 2 to 3 days on your faith. And, because Pastor Sam is a mentor, I asked him really a couple of weeks ago if he would come on and just share with us some things. And so God's been working with him on some thoughts that are relevant to this time. And so I just want to give him opportunity to just begin to speak to us. If you've got your Bibles, turn to 1 Peter chapter 5 in verse 6. And we'll be looking at verse 6, 7, and 8.
6 and 7 are good.
6 and 7. All right. So 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6 and 7.
Yep.
So, go ahead.
Let me just remind everyone, Philippians 4:6 says, be careful for nothing. Why would God say that if it were not possible that we could be undisturbed by circumstances that are around us or pressure that's put against us, so that we don't have to fret, we don't have to worry, we don't have to care for anything. Be careful for no thing is what that means. And then why would Jesus say to us in like John 14 verse 1, let not your heart be troubled? If it were not possible for us to have a trouble-free heart, why would Jesus tell us to not have or let not our heart be troubled? We have to understand that there are certain things that God is responsible for, other things that we're responsible for. If we do what we're responsible for and what we can do in obedience to his word, he can take care of the other things that are beyond our ability to be able to handle. That's what God and his miracle power, his healing power, his delivering power is really all about for us. And so that whole idea of, if Jesus said, don't let your heart be troubled, then he means that it is possible to live without a troubled heart. You're able to walk in life with not being careful for anything, not being worried about anything. So now let's just go to what Pastor Jason said in relationship to 1 Peter chapter 5, and then verse 6 and 7. Humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due season, casting all of your care upon him, because he cares for you. One translation says, casting the whole of your care upon him, because he cares for you. Everything that you might be tempted to care about, be filled with anxiety, or have worries over. It doesn't make any difference whether we're talking about the present circumstance or something that you'll face in the future that might be personal and not worldwide, that you're a part of just because you're living on planet Earth. What will you do in order to be able to live in such a way that you can cast the whole of your care, all of your care upon the Lord, because he cares for you? There's some insights here. I want to just share them with you. Let's go back to verse 6. It says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due season, or at the right moment, is what it literally is saying in the Greek language. The word there, in due season, is actually the word kairos, which speaks of at the appointed time, in the right way, at the right time, with the right method. He's going to bring to pass, lifting you up. He will exalt you. He'll take you higher. He'll get you out of your low condition, your difficult circumstance, and bring you to a place of freedom and rising above what the current pressure is, in order to be experiencing his power. So he's capable of being able to take us higher at the right moment in the right way in order to bring us free and make us free from and bring us into a freedom of life that makes it possible for us to live with what we're to do. We humble ourselves. What he does, he lifts us up. We're capable of turning everything over to God, having a trouble-free life, having a carefree heart, and he's able to take us higher and bring us victory and take us into the full measure of the deliverance that he has for us. So let's just bounce into verse 7, casting all of your care upon him because he cares for you. How do you humble yourself? You turn it over to God.
Yeah.
You're saying to yourself, I'm not the one who's going to solve this. God is the one that I'm looking to. And you throw that care on the Lord because he cares for you. Look at the word casting for just a moment. The word casting, here's a picture. See the man who's fishing. He's got a casting rod and reel in his hand. He's throwing or casting his bait out into the pond, the lake, and immediately he begins to slow retrieve or fast retrieve that bait back to him again so he can cast it again. If that's your idea of casting your cares on the Lord, you'll tell him now, Lord, these are your problems. I'm turning them over to you. 5 minutes later, you've got them again because you've retrieved them back to yourself. 5 minutes later, you cast the cares on God, and then you just took them back. That's not what God says when he says casting your care on him. Don't think about the fisherman. Think about someone who's got an issue or problem that's so big, so heavy, all you can do is get it up and then throw it toward God. You give it to someone who can do something about it. He can not only catch your pressure, but he can also handle your pressure. He's capable of bringing you the victory at the most unlikely time, but in a powerful, purposeful way. He's capable of bringing you to a place where you're free from what everybody else is bound with, what everyone else is carrying, and he'll give you freedom and deliverance because he's a great God, casting all your care on him because he cares for you. Only you know what you're worried about. Only you know what your pressure is. But if you'll turn it to God and don't take it back by being a fisherman who's retrieving the bait, put it in God's hands. He'll do something about it. You can live in victory all the days of your life, now and in the future.
That is so good. Yeah, that totally goes along with what we were talking about yesterday, that those who wait on the Lord. So
Yes.
we're casting our cares, our worries, whatever, on someone who can actually deal with it. He's the power source that has the ability to give us the juice to get us through where we need to be because we're waiting on him. So, in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31, in the Amplified Classic, it says, "But those who wait for the Lord, who expect, look for, and hope in, shall change and renew their strength and power.
Very
They
good.
shall lift their wings and mount up close to God as eagles mount up close to the sun. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint or become tired." So there's just the whole concept of what Pastor Sam's talking about, what we've been talking about, is you can't do it in your own strength. You've carried your issue, whatever it is, long enough. It's now time to throw it at God and say, God, here it is. But before you can do that, you really have to throw yourself at God and say, God, here I am. And I'm letting you be the one who controls my life, who helps me through the ebbs and the flows.
And guess what he does? He takes what you cast on him, he handles it, and then he says, now it's time for you to go higher. The thing that's held you down and held you back is not going to hold you back any longer. I'm going to free you from that present circumstance, and I'm going to lift you up. I'm going to exalt you. I'm going to take you higher. And when he does that, you have a testimony for his glory. Look what God has done. Look what God did that I couldn't do. Look how he handled this in a most unusual, just like God way. That's how we get to live our lives, not just today in our present circumstance, but we get to live that way for the days that are ahead of us. Our future is bright. Our
Yeah.
future is full of opportunity, and we need to seize that and take advantage of it by just doing something as personal and practical as this: cast your care upon the
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah. So, Pastor Sam, can you just, with what you've been talking about, with the word you gave us in January of the new is now, can you kind of speak to us as a congregation about how God is wanting to take us to the next level through all of this situation that's been going on?
Absolutely. You remember what Paul the Apostle said, Pastor? He said, there's a great and effective door that's open for me. He's talking about the ministry opportunities and options that were in front of him. He said, there's a great and effective door open unto me. The word great there is in the Greek word, the word mega. He's saying, I've got a mega opportunity here. But he said, as I look at my mega opportunity, I see a lot of adversaries. He said, there's a great and effective door open unto me, but there are many adversaries. Why would we ever try to take ground for God that even the devil doesn't want? If he's not blocking our progress, if he's not after something that's valuable, why should we go for something that doesn't have any value either? So he's going to try to keep us from going where the greatest potential is, where the greatest influence is, and where the greatest victories are going to be. So God says, I'm going to open a door of opportunity for you. And the devil says, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep you from getting through that door of opportunity. And so God makes it clear to us that the way for us to move is toward the greatest resistance, because that's where the greatest treasure lies. And the enemy knows that the greatest results are going to come from us going through the door that God has opened. So the enemy is always going to resist. Don't get discouraged about the enemy's resistance. Just learn his tactics. God says we're not ignorant of the devil's devices. We know what he tries to do. He hasn't really changed his plan. He's just changed where he's aimed his targets. And now it's our generation, and we're living in the now. And it's our turn to do what the Apostle Paul did. It's what those who have fought for and lived by the gospel of Jesus throughout all the ages since Christ came to the earth. You and I have the opportunity of standing and beholding one of the greatest doors for the gospel that is open to us, of taking what is a care, a worry, a concern worldwide, and turning it into an opportunity to see the glory of God revealed, and the power of God demonstrated, and the nature of God shown to what people are about. Not that he hasn't appointed us to wrath. He's not doing this. God's not responsible for what the world is going through. He's the answer to get the world out of it. So rather than us looking at the problem and saying, ooh, too big, too formidable, too much difficulty, I'm always getting pushed back. What in the world is going on? Why can't I deal with this devil? Why can't I deal with this issue? Why am I facing so many crises? All of that stuff. You got to see that as the devil's way of trying to tell you, turn around, stop, don't keep walking, because he knows if you keep walking, you're going through the greatest and the mega door of opportunity that you've ever had in all of your life and ministry. And so serving Christ is one of understanding tactics. How does God do things? How does the devil try to do things? Whose side are we going to take? We're going to listen to God. Go to the door of opportunity. Light the bay. This is God's timing for your opportunity. He's showing you that by what your pastor has already said. We're growing during this time. Well, what does God intend? He intends for Light the Bay to grow. He wants you to capture the hearts and the minds of the Bay Area, to turn the light on. So turn it on and you say, well, look, there's too much opposition, too much pressure, go toward it. If you go toward it and will not back down from it, you will find that they will disappear before you get your hand through the door. And the opportunities that God wants to give you are just on the other side of that threshold. Take a walk into your future and your opportunities, like the Bay. God has great things for you.
Amen. So we say it like the Bay, we're going up. Anytime there's a recession, depression, anytime there's a virus, anytime there's a calamity of any kind, we always go up and light the Bay.
That's right.
As Youngers, Bensons, we go up because God takes us from glory to glory. And so we just stand on that, and we're so thankful for the rich heritage we have through the Bensons, through other ministers that have helped us to understand that God is for us, he's not against us.
That's exactly right.
So whatever the devil is meant for bad, whatever bad has just happened in the world because of sin and death, God always has the ability to take it and turn it to good for his glory. And that's exactly what we're seeing happen. In our church, we're seeing that happen across the world, of the miracles we're hearing of people being healed, and then communities coming to Christ through that. Man, as Pastor Peggy said last night, this is the great setup.
That's great.
Very good. This is a great setup. And I choose to run into and have all of that great setup because I am casting all my cares on him. And I'm first of all humbling myself before the Lord and saying, God, what's my next step?
Right.
What's the next thing I need to do? Who's the next person I need to touch? I humble myself to his plan, and I cast all the anxieties on him because he cares for me. So we just want to say, Pastor Sam and I just want to say to those of you that have been watching, God's best is for you.
Yes.
It's a great day for you. It's a day to rejoice and be glad in. And you have such a wonderful rest of your day. And God is for you.
One more thing. Can I just say this?
Come on.
Are we going to do this again next time? Tomorrow?
We are going to do it again. I don't know when we'll do it again, but we're definitely going to do it again.
Okay, that's all I care about. Next time you have me back, I'm going to give you a word that'll actually blow your mind. You won't be able to think it through, but you'll be able to believe it through.
That's awesome. All right, so you heard it. You need to keep on watching 10 at 10s because there's some good stuff coming.